What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your week in review for April 27th, 2020. 3.9 is finally here. We can finally talk about it on a week in review. I'm so excited. I've been playing it a lot on my live stream on twitch.tv/SaltEMike, so feel free to head over there and check it out if you haven't or want to see it live. And we've been doing a lot of videos on our YouTube channel as well, and there's more videos to come. I'm super excited about them, so if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button and do the little notification bell thing for more 3.9 videos. All right, back to the week in review. We usually start out our weeks in reviews with patch notes updates if we have one, and we do, obviously. So this week's patch note update is going to be a little bit different than what I normally do. Usually we would go really into depth into the actual patch notes, but since 3.9 came out so early last week, it's been out for a while. We've actually got two additional patches, 3.9p and Q. And what I'm going to do with this week's episode, and I really need your feedback in the comments below, is I'm just going to discuss what's been added. Not even really any feature updates or anything like that, just what has been added to 3.9. And if you guys get my news, or if you use my channel as your only source for news every week, let me know, because maybe I should go more into depth into the patch notes if that's the case. If you're not really playing the game, but you're following it through me, just let me know in the comments, because I really want to know what to do with this section, because it's basically just me reading, and it's kind of, I don't know, I don't think it's as engaging, and I want to try and figure out a way to update it. But anyway, the 3.9 patch notes are now on the PTU. Starting out, we have a New Babbage update, which is the interiors of New Babbage, not just the inside of these beautiful locations, which are more high-tech and all that stuff, but also the exterior of the surface and the ability to just drive around it. And you could drive from the commons area all the way to the spaceport, and there's a garage in both. It's amazing. There's also the Klesher Automated Prison, which is part of the unlawful gameplay loop that's been gradually progressing over the last few patches, and I really like this. I think it's really well balanced with the risk versus reward aspects of unlawful gameplay. I think a lot of people, and some may disagree, so leave a comment below, let me know what you think about that. We've also got Microtech moons have been added to the game. My favorite one is Cleo. The other ones are kind of dead feeling and not much color or life to them. So I'm going to be asking you guys to leave lots of comments. This is almost going to be a feedback kind of video for what I want to do for Week in Review in the future. Shops also added to deal with some of the actor status system changes that we'll discuss in a few minutes. Missions. We have some unlawful missions added to the game. They only talk about the Price of Freedom mission here, which is a very good mission, and there was other ones. There was like the double assassination and things like that added as well as changes to the prices of the missions. Now, they also discuss mining consumables here, which we just did a video on our YouTube channel with, so if you haven't checked it out, I'll throw it up there in the corner. I just, in general, I think that they're kind of out of whack, a little bit unbalanced, and the problem with them, I think, is more that there are no incredibly difficult rocks to deal with right now, and or at least they're not hard enough. There's some difficult ones, and specifically with Quantanium, which we'll discuss next, but nothing incredibly hard where you absolutely need these. You can do it without them. Next is Quantanium, like I said. So this is the first volatile material that's been put into the game, which is a nice little addition to mining as well. It's really cool. I plan on doing a video on this in the near future. There's some bugs related to mining right now, so it's hard to actually tell what's going on with Quantanium. Also, some new harvestables added to the game. I haven't found any. I haven't really tried to find any yet, so if you found some, leave them in the comments. Let me know where you found them, and maybe I can go on a hunt myself. Weapon customization outside of the menu, so just looking at your weapon, you can customize it now with things that are in your inventory. Very cool addition, and it's obviously going to expand and grow as things become physicalized in the game. And then the actor status changes that we previewed just a moment earlier. Temperature, food, and drink all coming into play here. I initially thought pre this change and pre-playing the patch that I was going to hate it. I thought it was going to be too in the front of playing the game. It was going to get in the way, and it doesn't do that at all. It's kind of in the background, but you always have your mind on it. And it's paying attention to your character, taking care of them, knowing where you're going and preparing for the trip. It's all things that actually, in my opinion, add to what we have currently in Star Citizen rather than take away from it. So again, leave some comments below. Let me know what you think about the actor status changes. I personally am a fan. Then we have the Asperia Prowler, which is the only ship coming into this 3.9 patch, and it is a Tavaran dropship. So it's our first Tavaran ship, and I think it's very cool. I fortunately have been given one by CIG, which is really nice, to show it off on my live stream, as well as have one to give away when 3.9 goes live. That will be given away on my Twitch channel, so if you guys haven't yet, make sure you head over to twitch.tv/SaltEMike, leave a follow there, and follow Twitter, follow my Twitch channel a little bit more, and you'll find out when we actually do that giveaway, but most likely it'll be the day that 3.9 goes live. Also, probably the most underrated thing that's been added is the friends list. The changes, if you play with friends, these changes are really, really nice. The ability for a friend to add you when you're in the game, and you to add them, and you just play together. Oh, it's great, it's great, it's great. Now moving on, we're gonna go into our roadmap updates. And as always, we'll start out with Roadmap Roundup. And well, it is a short one this week. There's one thing in Roadmap Roundup, and it's the friends list that we just discussed is moved to polishing. And it needs the polish. There's still some definite issues and bugs that I'm noticing with the current friends list, but it's overall a huge quality of life change. Now, we don't normally do this, and this is one of those feedback scenarios that I'd like to hear from you in the comments, is going over additional roadmap progress. So there's some progress going on in 4.0 for New Babbage, the extra kiosks or whatever, as well as some Grimhex changes that we're going to discuss later in the video updates section, but there's some progress being made there, and these are both 4.0 additions, as well as some minor weapon progress going on in 4.0 as well. And then for 4.1, the only thing that's really moved this week is improved throw progress, and if anyone's tried to throw a grenade, they know that that's a problem, so looking forward to hopefully seeing that in 4.1. But like we've said in past weeks in review, the roadmap is ever-changing, it is frustrating to follow. I think they're at the point where now they're kind of not showing things much on the roadmap, and then they're going to bring them in when they are more sure about what is probably going to make it into that patch. They can't win with the roadmap. We either complain that they don't put enough on, or that they put stuff on and it ends up moving. So yeah, let me know what you think about me following, though, these additional later in the year patches, just to show what progress is happening. Because this is the week in review. These are the things that happened this week in Star Citizen. I think it would be wrong to leave them out. I just don't want to get excited about them, you know what I'm saying? Now, with that said, we're going to move on to video updates. And this week we had an Inside Star Citizen as well as a Calling All Devs, so jumping right into Inside Star Citizen, there is a segment on basically how they dealt with the situation that's going on in the world and their work from home issues.
And downloading 60 gig builds, whether that be a game dev build or a 3.9 branch or even the Future Stream branch.
Our builds are gigantic, so if we have to pull them every day just to test new things, it's very resource complex, so we have to work around those problems.
Now, I didn't play the whole clip there, but the actual start to this was like really over dramatic in my opinion, and I just think sometimes they just try to be really overly cinematic, and it's just kind of weird. But in general, the thing that we discussed here is it never crossed my mind that dealing with the amount of data moving around was going to be this bottleneck when they went to work from home. Just take your computer home and go to work. That's what it seems like from the outside, but there's obviously all these logistic issues that were a problem as well. So it's nice to see why 3.9 might have been a little bit late in relation to work from home. It was nice to see. It's obviously much easier when you're at your job with these powerful networks and everybody's in one place, right? But then we got some more info on the cargo decks. They've been talking about a lot about these, the refinery deck and the cargo deck. And yeah, it's just nice to see some concept art for it, and we get that here.
It's kind of a one-stop shop for all your cargo needs, and it'll have a small commercial area for retail purchases. with possible sort of guild discounts available. Then there's a small administration area, and also a small area to sort of eventually rent cargo specific ships as well, and potentially, like going forwards, cargo containers and things like that.
So all pretty cool stuff, but it's obviously still kind of vague, as the cargo deck and refinery decks are planned for 4.1. So we'll address these more at length when they're getting closer, but again, it's something that we saw this week, so I figured I'd share it with you. We also have changes, like I said earlier, coming to Grimhex.
We're adding hangars to Grimhex, and we're also adding XL hangar at Grimhex, which will mean that players who've been wanting to spawn larger ships should now be able to pretty soon. Another thing that's being worked on Grimhex right now is the racing aspect, so you should see the location starting to change to support racing when that comes in.
And these changes are much needed. And I said it last week when this moved on Roadmap Roundup, that they need to make these efforts if they're going to make the effort on prisons, right? So the fact that the law system has been working towards this unlawful gameplay, the idea of them having to spend time on the location where unlawful people spend time in the Stanton system just makes sense. So bringing hangars, the quality of life things that are needed at Grimhex do seem like they're a priority to me for an upcoming patch. Let me know what you guys think. And again, these changes are slated for 4.0. Then we get into the ever important sprint report. For those of you guys who don't know what a sprint is, it's basically, I think it's a 2-week time period where the company sets a team to work on a certain feature, flesh it out, do some research and development on something, all sorts of things. And the sprint report is CIG's way of explaining what happened in this past sprint. So it's basically showing what is CIG working on right now. So jumping into it, we have concepts of NPC refinery workers, which are that the refinery decks are planned for 4.1, so seeing what the NPCs might look like. That's very cool. I think we might also be able to wear some of this stuff, as well as more character art is heavy armors for Terra, a planet that is very high-tech as well, similar to like Microtech, I would imagine, in architecture style. I do not like these armors personally. Let me know what you guys think. I think they look a little too Destiny for me. Also, still work on atmospheric reentry effects. We've seen these in previous weeks in review. It's looking a little weird to me, but also better than what we had in the past, as it's moving as you move your ship going into the reentry. Then the Cutlass Blue. They finally picked a color. Congratulations, guys. We hope to see that ship very soon. White box on the Crusader Hercules Starlifter. This excites me. This ship is near and dear to my heart. I am not a big ship guy anymore. I don't really like looking at visuals as much in the game and more playing it. But this ship and this company, I just love the look of them. Replacement of points of interest is starting to begin again. We used to have all these downed ships and these missions related to them. So work is starting to happen again now that Planetech V4 is done. They're adding more things like that. Lighting pass on bars as well, since we have the bartender coming in. And in my opinion, probably the most exciting one is the Aaron's Halo. Now, they start the video out saying that it's not in the game, but it is. To some extent, we have it and you can fly to it, but it just doesn't look like how they're showing it on the video. There's no big gates there or anything like that. Some people in my live stream were like, oh, you're going to hate the Halo because you're going to have to quantum travel to the gate, and then from the gate, you'll quantum travel to the rest of the system. And yeah, it might be a little annoying at first, but in general, this is the only system in Star Citizen currently. There's going to be many other systems that we're going to be playing in the future. So if this is a unique aspect of this system, sure, I think it's pretty cool. And then we had a Calling All Devs, and this one is all about Fauna that will one day come to Star Citizen. So we're starting out this with an update on what exactly is Fauna in the game.
So we break it down into 3 different types. There would be insects, or kind of just VFX that play around trees or things to give it life in that area. Then there would be voids, which are like small creatures like a frog or a snake or a rat, whatever we'd kind of consider to be appropriate for our universe. And then
like those floating things we saw at Citizen Gun a couple years ago.
Yes, sir. Yeah, just like what we had in Lorville.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
And then from there would be much bigger creatures, like basically herds or apex predators or sandworms kind of thing.
And it's nice to just get a general idea of what exactly is planned for them and how they categorize certain things. But yeah, so let's get into the actual video and the actual questions. So where do they start from here? Where do we start seeing fauna?
So we're going to be working on the space cow, just to work out the new rig, and so obviously it's a 4-legged creature. So from there, we're just working on a new rig and basically seeing how that will work, and any sort of alignment issues that we might have on the planet, versus IK, so on and so forth. And then also building usables associated with it, so it's drinking, its water holes, or whatever its 24-hour schedule dictates. And then from there, we'll be the next big one would be the space whale that we'll look into.
Okay, so cows. Now we need to get an understanding of what they actually are. So they do a quick kind of lore introduction in as to what the cow actually is. So here's that.
So we're calling it the Kazi Grazer.
Kazi?
Kazi, yeah,
Kazi Grazer?
Named after the region on Terra, where basically it was sort of originated. So it's it's basically kind of a pack herd animal type thing. I can read you the description if you want.
Yeah.
These large, warm-blooded herd animals were originally discovered on the vast plains of Kazi on Terra, most notable for their unusual method of carrying their young. The Kazi Grazer has become one of the standard seed animals and can be commonly found on most terraformed planets in the UEE. Aside from using their eggs for cooking, the grazers are also used for their meat and in more remote sections of space, tanning their skins for heavy winter clothes.
And there's more lore on who the Kazi Grazer really is and why it's important. Link will be in the description of the entire video. I suggest you guys check that out themselves. But for me, the space cow seems like the right way to go. It doesn't really move very fast, right? So the idea of a cow that really just walks around and grazes is a good start for fauna in Star Citizen, and you can go to the more complex and complicated to build animals in the future, like whales. And we've been seeing a lot more about space whales lately, so let's talk more about them.
But yeah, the idea is that they are going to be indigenous to Crusader, and not for like at launch indigenous, but like down the road indigenous. But yeah, that they sort of exist within the clouds in the deep, kind of highly dense parts of the planet, and then but will kind of like basically like breach every so often. So they'll come up to the surface and hopefully get to the point where players can actually kind of see them. And I mean, one of the things we're talking about, and I really hope we can pull it off, because we've been talking about this idea about tour guides, because obviously tourism factors very heavily into Orison. But the idea that there could be basically like whale tours, space whale tours, where they basically go out and kind of like look for breaching space whales.
Very cool to see how they swim in gas giants. I personally would like to see them as more rare sights on many gas giants, but they kind of stated that it would only be on Crusader, and that's where they're native to. And I guess that's okay for now since it's the only system we have, but in the future I'd like to see them in many gas giants. I think that would be really neat, but a rare sight to see, right? And then they touch a bit more on the gameplay possibilities of not just whales, but other fauna as well.
With a lot of like the sort of harvestable stuff that the PU is starting to implement now with like plants and materials and stuff like that. Part of the fun with these things is also like, aside from coming up with the sort of the name and the history and stuff, is figuring out kind of how we can incorporate them into gameplay. Is there stuff that you can collect off of them? That's what I talked about in the Kazi Grazer, like, you can harvest their eggs or harvest their skin, stuff like that. But like, are there gameplay opportunities for the space whale? Like, barnacle, getting barnacles off of it, stuff like that.
And to me, things like these are vital. The ability to interact with all things from the game world is really important. And since we have no roadmap, though, on timeline on these things, I'm just going to stay cautiously optimistic that they'll enter the game at some point and be fun somewhere in the near future. But again, I'm not going to get overly excited about any of this stuff just because we've been let down so much in the past, right? So moving on from our video updates, we go into other updates. And we'll start this one out with a Galactopedia update. It's just some changes to it, more additions to the Galactopedia, so feel free to go check those out. And then we had more prison info from Reddit from I'm Kwaku, who actually spends some time on our live stream every now and again to discuss and look for bugs. And he basically said that they plan to add more routes to prisons, so it's not just this one route that everyone is speedrunning now at this point. They plan to add more, and that's always been known, but just reiterating that fact. And then there was a Quantum AMA. So Quantum is the background simulation that'll be running the economy, and they did a little AMA on it this week. I'm going to touch on 3 major features of it, but again, the link will be in the description for that AMA, so check it out yourself. I highly suggest it. And the first one is that Quanta right now will basically just be in the background, but the plan is that they make many of the nodes physicalized in the future, but for right now, the way it works is they're more a background simulation that are interacting, I guess, with the shopping system, and I guess the mission system as well. Quantum will also determine how densely populated locations will be, and that includes prisons. In particular, this post was asking specifically about prisons. And lastly, derelicts will eventually be spawned by this system. So the more activity in a system, the more maybe piracy or ship combat, maybe the more derelicts will be in a certain area. And then we had just the last update for today is a little M50 cockpit update. Can't English. And that is coming in 4.0. It was initially slated for 3.9, but got pushed out. So guys, that will do it with this week's Week in Review. I do hope you enjoyed it. Again, it was a bit weird as I was asking for a lot of feedback, but I am looking to constantly improve these videos, so I want to do them better for you. So yeah, leave some comments below. Let me know what you think, and hit that like, subscribe, and I will see all of you guys next week. Thanks for watching.